Greetings and welcome to Faith Simplified, our Thursday segment. A challenging Thursday it is, because it's not just a new show, but it's a continuation of a show we had on migration and refugees, with comments and demands that we had. People felt that that was not enough. You guys have given us one side, but what about the realities? What about the challenges that we see on a day-to-day lives? And we thought, why not? We listen to you because we journey together. We help you to know, love, believe, and live your faith. That's Faith Simplified. So, joining me today is Brother Mbongiseni, who had a couple of good comments to make in our last segment, or last show, and immediately after our show we had an engagement and we saw stuff that he felt needs to be brought to life. So Brother Mbongiseni Nyathi, and we have Father Tente Sompane of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, who had gone AWOL, and the people have noticed, Father. You know, our community is growing, and our community noted that Father has been missing. So AWOL, Father is back and is here to engage with you. And part of the furniture, we do have Father Martin Badenhorst of the Order of Preachers. And I think this must be a furniture shop.
Yes.
I'm gonna call this a furniture shop. You've got an uncle in the furniture business. I'm not advertising for any furniture shop, but we do have Xoliswa Moraka, who also felt that I loved it, but it left me hanging. Yeah. And without further waste of time, I am Teboho Mashoeng, your host, and I will ask that Xoliswa gives us just the brief background on how she perceived the last show and the comments that she received and the emails from people saying what really is missing, so that we can then bring our guests and it will come back from the furniture shop to the buyers.
Sure. I think last week's show obviously was important because one, we were preparing to celebrate World Refugees and Migrants Day, right? Which is an important day, and we had to put a spotlight on those issues, particularly issues that migrants and refugees face. You know, so I think for me that was important, and I think at the crux of it, the message that I took was that we are essentially all created in the image and likeness of God, and therefore it is important that how we engage with one another, we need to remember our identity. So that was important, you know. And I think I took that message away. But also, I think for me, and also some of the comments that we received on our Faith Simplified social media channels was, no, it's great and well, and it's understood, you know. But there's realities that, particularly as host countries, so I'll use South Africa as an example, that we have a number of people that are either refugees or migrants who may or may not leave their countries voluntarily or involuntarily, you know. So you have people that might decide, you know what, South Africa looks like a nice place to go in and just do stuff, you know. And some people would leave their countries illegally. And when they come, and this has nothing to do with race. It's just people leaving their countries and coming to South Africa or whatever country they believe will give them better opportunities and obviously remove them from whatever situation that they are moving away from there, you know. And the realities that we have found, and particularly also as a South African who lives here and in Joburg in particularly, I've also personally experienced issues. I mean, I know for instance, I come from Alex, and at some point there was xenophobic attacks against foreigners and all of those things. And for me, there are issues on the ground that are happening between host countries or citizens of the country that foreigners and refugees and whoever would stay in, that need to be addressed, and say, how do we deal with issues? I mean, there's issues where people would say certain nationals are known for drugs, certain nationals are known for driving, human trafficking or whatever it is. So how do we deal with those issues? And at what point do we also look at the human dignity of the host countries, the citizens of that, and say, how is their human dignity violated by some of the actions that are done by people that are coming out of the country?
Thank you. I am going to move from one furniture shop to one buyer. And this buyer being Brother Mbongiseni, who also picked up on a similar opinion as Xoliswa has given. Brother, let's talk. I'm not going to cue you, connecting from what Xoliswa has just said to us now, and your own experiences, because we were looking into different aspects. I'm sure we are simplifying the terminologies again further, that we have migrants, we have refugees, and locally they are all foreigners. But there's also a question of color. Who are real foreigners in South Africa? Are we only looking at foreigners as blacks that are from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Maputo? How do we look into them? Because even in the township language, we call them amakwerekwere. Initially, there was that. Xoliswa mentioned the xenophobia as one aspect, but there was a good platform laid on the one side, which is the previous show. And now we also need to look into the realities. And what's your take, brother?
South Africa belongs to all who live in it. It doesn't say South Africa belongs to South Africans. But being a migrant comes with responsibility and accountability. That's the most important note that we should know. Really. It comes with responsibility and accountability. I cannot invite you, Teboho, in my house and start misbehaving, start stealing things in my house, and expect me to be okay with it. You need to follow the rules. You need to follow the laws. In Hebrew, I can't go around carrying my phone like this and expect to go back home with my phone. You understand? So there is some sort of lawlessness that has come with migration, especially here in South Africa, especially some parts of the country such as Hillbrow, the CBD in Johannesburg, the townships, as my sister says, that there are xenophobic attacks in the townships. What triggers those attacks? That's the question that we should ask ourselves. So migration should come with responsibility and accountability. Let the law be followed. You understand? Let the law. These are some of the challenges that migration has in South Africa. Lawlessness. People don't follow the law. Illegality. People come here without papers. South Africa is a welcoming country, but come here legally. That's the most important thing that we should not have. Be here legally, follow the rule of law, respect the human dignity of those whom we have found living there.
The opening comments, social issues meets faith. Father, we always have to strike a balance in all of these issues that are brought to the table. Hence, Faith Simplified. We are bringing to light issues that are of concern, but what is important is a way of life. Faith Simplified is a movement, is a lifestyle, and we are partial when it comes to living Christ-like. And I guess this is where lawlessness comes from. We've seen it from ancient times with the Israelites, and how they also were dealt with even in foreign territory. So, having had sheep of your flock, what is your take as you open up on this conversation?
The questions that have come up are things that I have to face on a regular basis. Springs Parish has a very large migrant component to it, and the migrants are from all over Africa. It's not one particular West African country or any particular place. So there's a large group of people there who feel often uncomfortable because of the attitudes of other South Africans. And there's a group of South Africans who like making the others feel uncomfortable. And part of the problem is that we do confuse the criminals with the many. Every population has its criminal element. That's our human sinfulness. But when it becomes all of them are like that because of the sins of the few, then we are dealing with a deep human problem. Also, where is the example from us as South Africans? Because we are a lawless country. And it doesn't matter what the laws are, we don't apply them properly because of all sorts of shortcomings politically and humanly amongst ourselves, the corruption problem, all of those aspects which divert funds from policing to the pockets of the few. We are a lawless country, so if we accuse others of lawlessness, man, fix up your own problems first before you accuse somebody else. You're looking in a mirror. Often we are looking in a mirror when we offer criticism against other groups and peoples. And we should be used to it. We are an enormously and beautifully diverse country. 11 official languages. And hopefully sign language will come in and we'll have 12 official languages. We're used to it. And now suddenly we're not used to it when it comes to, say, French speakers or Portuguese speakers from the rest of Africa or Igbo speakers. Then we somehow lose our ability to deal with multiculturalism. So those are the questions I ask in return. What's wrong with us as a society that things sometimes don't work out? And it's not just the criminality that is there amongst some of the migrant groups. You'll find criminality everywhere. There's an attitude within us that also needs to be addressed as a society, as this community of diversity.
Thanks, Father, for the opening comments. Padre, you are a parish priest in Thokoza, with so many of this diversity that Father also speaks about, maybe on the one side. But what would be your take as you open up on this conversation? And from there, I'm going to just let it flow. If you've got questions that you want to pose to one another, let's just have it as a conversation.
Thank you, Teboho. I think I would like to start from many years ago. Some might not even recall. I just start with this phrase or word, kwere kwere. Many South Africans never even knew about the word. This is from Lesotho. That was prior democracy. During the apartheid, many African brothers and sisters were never allowed to, from outside, never allowed in the apartheid South Africa then. There wasn't any Nigerian, Cameroonian, you mentioned all of them. So I remembered very long time ago when I had the word kwere kwere, when I met with the Nigerian and other foreign countries, only traveling to Lesotho. In South Africa, they were no go area for them. And somehow that has also impeded on us, South Africans, from knowing other cultures, except South African, except 11 languages. Secondly, I want to also raise an issue of, I think for us as priests, some of us are lucky. We've been fortunate to travel the world, to go to other African countries, Europe and Italy. For example, as I'm talking to Italy, there are a lot of immigrants all over the world. They also have similar problems. But let's come back to home. migration. Migration started the South Africa, Johannesburg, as we see today, is full of migration. These are the migrants, workers here. They come from all over, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and some are South Africans. There was no problem. What is the migration? People are moving from one place to another for various reasons. Now, when we come for political, remember now, I want to bring also this aspect of Syria. We know what happened with Syria. It has been going for years, Syria. And we know about Iraq, but let's bring Afghanistan. We also told in our government that can we take the Afghanistanian to South Africa? We saw plane taking them. Where are they taking them to? Those are the refugees. And you know what? No single person in his or her mind would just leave his country or country for fun. Yeah. People always go there for other better conditions, better. You go to other countries, I won't mention them, but in African countries that I've traveled, this is really for them to be here. It's like they are in the UK, they are in London. So some are running away from wars, ethnic, religious as well. So for South Africans, I believe, I know the accountability, but maybe we're never prepared, like I said, we're never prepared. Secondly, also our leadership, political leadership, willing to help. So Father mentioned about the issue of corruption. It has really enabled, so we have to sort our houses first. So that's why everybody come in. So are you going to blame the people who are coming to our country? Why can't we blame our leadership? And this will lead to, for me, according to me, it will lead to a war among ourselves if we don't fix our borders, our leadership, political.
Well, lawlessness, law enforcement, corruption. You are in business, and then I think one of the concerns is how business opportunities compromise in cheap labor, be it at restaurants and local people. So there are a number of factors that we need to consider that you probably would want to pose a comment on.
Yeah, so I think maybe I just want to comment on what Father Martin and both Father Sompane have said, and want to acknowledge, as a South African, acknowledge that there is indeed lawlessness amongst ourselves, and we have to what Brother Mbongiseni has said, take accountability. So I think we have to take accountability for our own mess as citizens and as people that come from South Africa, right? And accept that we are sometimes participate in these activities and enable for such activities to get out of hand, because sometimes we think about politics of the stomach. We just think about what can I get that will make me money, you know. So for me, I want to remove that, but also I want to say let's not shy away from the fact that the issues that we are bringing to the table do indeed exist and do indeed hinder on the human dignity of the citizens that are in those host countries, right? And Teboho alluded, I mean, I work as I'm a business strategist, and my main job is to say, how do we enable people, irrespective of where you come from, how do we enable people to become economically active, to contribute to society economically, you know, through business in particular. And what I've seen, particularly if we use hospitality or the restaurant space in particular, it doesn't matter which restaurant you go to. There are minimal South Africans. And if we look at the unemployment rate, and I'm not sure, I mean, I stand corrected. I don't know when we look at unemployment in South Africa, do we count non-South Africans, or is it just South Africans? So that is something that we need to look at. If you just look at the unemployment rate and you wonder if the restaurant market in particular is not even accommodating to the high unemployment rate of South Africans, where else can we find opportunities? And when you look at the people at the counter, the people who are serving you, and it's nothing against the person, it's saying the opportunities are being taken away. And in other countries, citizens are first priority, then it's the rest, you know. And for me, it's yes, the lawlessness that needs to be addressed, but it's also recognizing that I can't just go to Nigeria and decide to set up shop in Nigeria. It's not going to happen. And where we find ourselves in townships, at some point in our lives in the townships, our families used to run spaza shops. Now in this moment, there's hardly a South African-owned spaza shop. It's a Pakistani or whatever it is. Yes, for a number of reasons they are cheaper and all of those things, but I'm just saying economic opportunities are being taken away because we have to accommodate and create an environment that is for everyone. But we have to find a way where we come together, and the law that needs to be created or need to be upheld or whatever it is, it needs to be upheld by everyone that is in there. So you cannot be absorbed. I mean, if we look at tax and all of those things, do spaza shops pay tax? Pakistan spaza shop pay tax? You know, or whatever. So for me, it's those simple things that in reality, it becomes challenging to live a Christ-like life, to be accepting, to see somebody in the image and likeness of God and all of those things, when you realize how much of these challenges are also hindering on your own human dignity as a person that is hosting the migrant or the refugee or whatever it is.
So it's you resisting that you will never turn your cheek. I hear. Brother Mbongiseni.
She makes very important points. The lawlessness that I mentioned before, it's the same thing that she's saying. I think the Labour Minister Lawlessness once mentioned that, to say, no, why would restaurants prioritize hiring people from outside of South Africa while South Africans don't have jobs? That's the question that the minister tried to address. And ask yourself another question: how many of those working in those restaurants have got legal papers to work in those restaurants? That's the lawlessness that I'm talking about. And second, I have a question. I don't know if Father will ask me. Why is it when every time there is xenophobia, only black migrants are attacked? What about European migrants? What about the Chinese who own billions of rands in this country? Their businesses own billions of rands in this country. Cheap labor that our host is talking about is done by those European migrants who are hiring people from outside the country to come and work in their restaurant through cheap labor.
Just briefly, I would say that's why many South Africans today, they will say that we are not liberated. It's only political.
Yes.
They say economically we are not liberated.
Yeah.
And that's why we see poverty. So again, it goes back to our leadership.
Yeah.
When we sort of took over the government, the leadership, what did our leaders do? Did they really take into consideration how to run the country properly, take care of their own citizens? Back to issue of corruption. People started to do that. So now, you are right, you cannot go to any country. When I was in leadership in the provincial, I was in another country. It was very difficult to allow South African embassy, allow those nationals to come to our country. So what they do next, they would come illegally because our borders are opened. Now, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I heard in one border gate of South Africa, an official was arrested for a pair of shoes that cost 1,000 that he took from an immigrant or refugee, whatever, coming in. He said, you go in. And we know about these stories. So about back to the restaurants, people are hired. It's really feeling people are feeling uncomfortable.
Yes. Yes.
Residents everywhere.
Yes.
So you ask yourself, how did these people come in? Now, we South Africans back again. White and blacks, we are hiring non-South Africans for cheap labor.
Exactly.
So we are also exploiting.
Yes.
Which is against the human
Exactly, human dignity.
My point exactly. South Africans.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And here we have to look in the mirror, because when you go to Home Affairs, you do not meet Cyril Ramaphosa.
No,
It's
no,
not
no.
a leadership problem.
Yeah.
It's a
People problem.
citizen problem.
Yes.
And let's face it, you go into a restaurant, there might be a South African serving of any cultural group, and it's, may I have the Beyond Burger, please? No, not today. And you go, and somebody else who is hired from a different country, welcome, sir.
Very
I am your server today.
Yes, yes.
May I
yes.
bring you something to drink? That's our attitudes why we're not getting jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
And our civil service is not filled with foreigners. Our civil service is filled with South Africans who make it difficult for foreigners to be here legally. Because,
Yes.
fill my pocket and I'll sign your papers.
Police.
I've dealt with refugees in this country who have been here for 10 years, and every time they go to Home Affairs, it's, Fuse, come back next week.
Yeah.
They've got to take peace jobs, they can't settle, nothing. So it's a little job being taken here,
Cheap
a little
labor.
job being taken there as cheap labor.
Yeah.
I have to deal with the visa applications for our brothers in the Dominican order to come in to be trained in
That's
South
correct.
Africa.
Yeah.
I can tell you now, and I hope there are some ones in power listening, I can tell you now, every embassy has a different set of rules.
Yes.
Everyone you communicate with tells you a different story.
Yes.
Yes.
From the visa services who serve the government to the various embassies and
Yeah.
consulates throughout Africa, they all have a different story based on one law.
Yeah.
Genoeg there, genoeg. We're all dealing with a certain wall of human shortcoming. We are dealing with a wall of sinfulness that we must break through. Otherwise, nothing will be resolved. If it's just a blame, the ultimate question is, what can I do, as Father said? Am I employing people
Yes.
under the carpet? The government makes it difficult, and we hear this over and over again on radio programs, makes it difficult for business in South Africa. There's so many hoops to jump through that people just give up.
Yeah.
Yes. And then,
And then the taxes don't go.
Yeah.
Then the taxes don't go because you're having an unregistered company on the QT, and there's a whole system that needs to be addressed, not individuals from Nigeria or Congo
Yeah.
or Angola.
Yes.
The system needs to be addressed
Yes.
systematically. The cure needs to take place. And it's in our hands as South Africans.
And it starts with the first individual, yourself. So we are trying to just bring a balance in this topic here, which is broad. And once again, time has just flown by.
Yeah.
And we have just scratched the surface. And I'm sure comments are flying in and people are getting edgy to say, no, leave, why don't you talk about that? Continue to subscribe. We have a growing community of viewership, but not of subscribers. And I need to explain something on the show that just struck me on our way to the studio today, that people feel that subscribing on YouTube means you are paying a fee to Faith Simplified. We are not multi-choice, we are not SABC, we don't ask for your TV license. Just press the subscribe button, the notifications button, like the show, put your comments in there, and no cent of yours will be gone except for your data, for the time you spend. And that's why we want to hold it right there in order for you to tune in again next week as we go on to discuss these issues. However, I would like to take briefly the last comments from our guests tonight and ensure that they have their voices heard. Baba, Brother Mbongiseni, I know you still have a number of issues that you raised. However, we have just come to almost closing up the show. What would you say to the viewers and maybe your closing comments?
I'll say what Father Martin has said. Before you look at the challenges brought in by migrants, fix your own house as South Africa. Fix your own house. Don't blame everything on migrants. Police are corrupt. Home Affairs officials are corrupt, like Father said. Fix your own house before you point your finger towards the migrant. That's my last comment.
Thank you so much.
my comment would be really, I would love that this conversation to continue, because really we are just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Like my brother was asking, who are the refugees? And is it only white, blacks, those who are coming from other countries? What about the Chinese? What about the Europeans who are here from East Europe?
Yeah.
So we need to talk more about these issues, because they are also immigrants and refugees there, but they sort of receive a special treatment. However, like Father said, we have to fix, because we are the one.
Yeah.
It's not Ramaphosa in the offices, it's South Africans.
Thank you, Father. Xoliswa, before I allow Father to give us his comment and give us the final blessing.
I think for me, it's collective responsibility. So it's not just South Africans fixing their house, because you are already in our house. You know, as migrants and refugees, you are already in this house. So you need to take part in the fixing. Because if it means I need to take accountability, you need to go back so that I can fix my house. But it can't happen that way. You are here, we all need to take accountability, and collectively, we need to ensure that we create an environment that is conducive for everyone. So the human dignity should be upheld at all times. For me, it's collective responsibility.
Collective responsibility, it is.
Not all of them are. Not all of them are criminals. Not all of the people working sometimes under difficult circumstances in home affairs or the police or all the rest are corrupt. The question we need to ask is, why are the good guys being swamped by the bad news? So this is the opportunity for all people of good faith who want to see the image and likeness of God in others to stand up and say, I recognize the image and likeness of God in you, so drop the attitude, drop the corruption, drop the evil, and let's speak and get sorted out whatever needs to be sorted out.
I feel heartbroken a bit from what Father has just said, because not so long ago I lost a friend who was a whistleblower in South Africa, killed for doing what is just, for doing what is right. But we are never discouraged, nor should we lose hope. Let us continue, because it starts with you and me. In order for what has been said, in order for right to come and be right, it needs us to do right by ourselves and by those that have visited our homes. Maybe right is based on the fact that welcoming me to your home and not giving me your rules makes me unruly.
Yeah.
You know, but if I get unruly knowing your rules, therefore that collective responsibility is required. And it is on that note that Faith Simplifies continues to simplify social and faith issues. You did strike a balance between the social issues and the responsibility as a Christian, as somebody who has faith. And we believe, even though we don't see, we might not see this as a possibility, but we need to believe in it and chase after it. I am Teboho Mashoeng, your host, and on behalf of my wonderful guests, I would like to thank you and ask you to continue to subscribe, share, like, and give us your comments in order for the show to grow. We thank you, and may God bless all of you. Father, your blessing.
Lord be with you,
And with your spirit.
and may Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen.